McMullen, what's up, bro? How's it going?
What's up, boys? How are you
Everything
guys?
Good, man.
Can't wait to start.
I don't know what you're talking about with creatine and glutamine, so
An old
can't jump in.
coworker.
Earth is spinning faster than it has in 5 decades. John, are you ready for this?
You know it.
You doing a Ron Culver impersonation over there? What's happening?
This is The Middle on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays.
The only person on the show that I could see showing up with 800 pages of notes for anything would be Barrett, because he watched 800 hours of golf leading up to a discussion that he knew we were going to have on it. Harry, I can't see Harry putting together more than about 4 or 5 pages, which he does for football games and stuff.
I got all my notebooks right here. What are you talking about?
But not 800 pages.
No.
You couldn't get through half of a page because you're like me. Our attention spans are like gnats out there. And then here comes John McMullen, our NFL insider, courtesy of Jacob Media, JF McMullen. I could see John sitting down and putting together about 450 pages of notes before he realizes that it's probably an exercise in futility.
Yeah, it's all up here. I got the notes app. It's all on the phone. Yeah, what do you know? Everything's on the phone.
That's what it's about, man. But he doesn't look at all those notes. That's what ESPN gives him for all those notes. He doesn't do it himself. Now I work with Ray. Ray does it all the time. Ray will sit back and be writing things all day.
Yeah, he's got the legal.
Yeah, Ray's old school.
Yeah.
Got the legal pad. Yeah, breaking down the whole thing.
Well, is your head spinning, John, as mine is, with all these candidates coming in and speaking with Jeffrey Lurie?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I think, all the reports of guys the Eagles are interested in, and I just put out a tweet that the latest odds have 17 names on there. I mean, the only important part is guys who are actually coming in and being interviewed. And last time, if you go back to 2016, it was 6. It ended up being 6. I don't think it'll be far greater than that, maybe a little bit greater. But I think, part of these, and this is not just the Eagles, but every NFL team looking for a new coach, part of this is public relations, and you gotta show the public that you're doing your due diligence with all these guys.
I think that's what it is.
I just wanted to ask real quick, because I know these guys want to throw some stuff out with the birds and kind of where we are right now, but you put out your latest in phillyvoice.com, had to do with the contradictions. That was a term that you used a couple of times. What contradictions were you referring to with Jeffrey Lurie?
Well, there were so many. I mean, in that press conference, it's too many to count. But if you talk about his process for, he made a big deal about that for defending Howie Roseman. Well, what about the process? He said that was a big deal. And this is one of the funniest moments of the press conference to me. I don't know about you guys, but he was talking about personnel, and he said, well, we liked some players, but they got taken in front of us. Well, yeah, that's part of it. And he's, it's now kind of well known that the scouts wanted Justin Jefferson, the coaches wanted Jalen Reagor, so that's a big deal. And he talked about that process and saying he knows what's going on behind the scenes. We don't, which is fair. But I go back to that 2016 coaching search. Well, that process led them to Adam Gase and Ben McAdoo. So why doesn't that get brought up? They got lucky with Doug Peterson.
Well, if they're going to go about doing it the same way they did back when they got Peterson, I mean, I think the most qualified candidate that they could probably go to was Duce, don't you think? I mean, Duce, or are they going with Kafka or something?
I've said Mike Kafka, and I still think that's a possibility. Obviously, they have to wait now because you can't interview anybody in the playoffs. They've missed that window. So they have to wait for the Chiefs to lose, and that might not be till early February, obviously. So that complicates things. As far as Duce, yeah, I mean, I kind of don't want Duce to get the job because I think he's going to be set up to fail. But I kind of
Yeah.
do want Duce to get the job because he probably deserves it, and that's what they're looking for. A first-time head coach who will agree on coordinators and won't have that much power to put a stamp on things. The Eagles don't want that. Let's be honest. So it's kind of 50-50. If I'm Duce, I'm thinking I'm set up to fail.
Yeah, careful what you ask for. John,
Yeah.
have you heard from any players and their thoughts about the way this all went down? Doug is safe. They trot him out there for that press conference with Howie Roseman, which was kind of a dog and pony show, especially after last year when Groh was safe, and then the next day Doug had to fire him. But how the players feeling about everything that's transpired, ultimately leading to the dismissal of Doug?
Yeah, I've been texting with a few, and obviously nobody there's such uncertainty. You don't want to make too much of a grandiose gesture, so to speak. But look, Doug was really popular. He just was, maybe with the exception of Carson Wentz. The talk of the players coach. And, one thing he said in the statement that rang true is this team never gave up on him. No matter how bad it got, they were fighting. They were fighting in week 17.
Yeah.
Even after they sat Jalen Hurts, they were fighting to win that game. And that's the one thing they always fought for him because they liked him and they believed in him. So, do the math. I don't think they're very happy with it.
That's fair. Now what? We look at the Jets. It seems like their top two candidates are not named Doug Peterson. I saw a report that came out, or maybe it was just a tweet from somebody with a verified account that thought this. I'm not sure anymore, that there is a possibility Doug would take the year off. We kind of thought that he would be locked into one of the openings, despite Jacksonville not being that with Urban Meyer. What happens now with Doug Peterson?
Yeah, I think he's more likely to take a year off. One of the things I've said on this show and other shows is that the timing hurt him. I mean, these six teams besides the Eagles, they were deep into the hiring process before Doug even got on the street. Now, the one that would be most likely is obviously the Jets because of Joe Douglas. And Joe might have said, look, to Robert Saleh or Arthur Smith or anybody else, he wasn't available. Thanks for coming in. But I know this guy. I love this guy. And if it wasn't going to happen with the Jets, and it doesn't look like it is, then he's probably better off taking a year off and getting in on the ground floor of next year's hiring cycle. And remember, he had 2 years left on his deal, so Jeffrey's got to pay him.
Yep.
Is he a guy that can sit around and take a year off, though, and still have some cachet to get his next gig?
Good question.
You never know because this league is really, not for long, the old cliche. So people will forget. But when you win a Super Bowl, that carries some cachet. It really does. And there's going to be the hot candidates like there is every year. This year it's Saleh, it's Arthur Smith, it's Joe Brady, guys like that who get multiple interviews. They don't have his resume. So, yeah, I think there's at least one or two teams that'll say, I want that proven guy. I can sell that to my fan base.
Well, it says a short leash with the GM. I mean, is Howie still, have that say so, or is he really on a short leash? Should he be on a short leash? Because I'm thinking at this point, I mean, usually when you fire head coach, you usually fire the GM because they usually go hand in hand. I mean, how far does Lurie have with going in and talking to Howie?
Well, should he be on a short leash? He should be on a choke collar. Is he on a short leash?
He's on one of those extendable leashes.
A shock collar.
Really?
Exactly. He's got the invisible fence in the 5-acre backyard. I mean,
right.
He can roam. He can do whatever he wants. I mean,
that's just not right.
This is his third head coach. It's basically unheard of for a GM or a de facto GM to get 3 head coaching hires. I mean,
John,
Jeffrey trusts him. He loves him.
he has more job security than Sam Hinkie did at the height of the tank.
Yep.
I would
That's
agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
What is the status of the whole John Dorsey situation? Obviously, I guess if he gets a real GM job, he would bolt. But do you see him as a solution to work with Howie as the quote unquote football guy going forward?
Well, I think, Andy Weidl's already that guy. The Eagles kind of always they brought in Andrew Berry for 9 months. So they've always had this mentality of bringing in people from the outside because I think, and Jeffrey mentioned that in his press conference when he said the last 2 GM hires in this league were in our front office. Now, Andrew had a cup of coffee and they're taking credit for him, but nonetheless, I think they like that. But John
They're
has
GM
not
factory
yet,
too.
yeah, they're GM factory as well. John has not gotten any interviews for this cycle, so he's going to be around. I think it'll still be Howie Rose and Andy Weidl, but I think they'd love to keep him around as a consultant.
All right, John. So last one for you here. On your way out, look at the 4 games across the weekend. Give us the big upset that you see coming, and then the other opposite end of it, the one that is going to play out in any lock that you can handle.
Well, I'm interested. I think the most interesting game is Buffalo and Baltimore for a lot of reasons. I think Baltimore's so talented that they could go in there and upset Buffalo, and they're playing hot, and that's generally what happens in the playoffs. You get hot at the end of the season, and you kind of ride that wave. The weather could complicate those things, though. So, and then I look at New Orleans. I've said it for weeks since Drew Brees has come back. He has not looked right, and I don't think they're as good as people think they are. And I think they're ripe for the upset. But
Wow.
Kansas City, Green Bay at Lambeau with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
I think those 2 are pretty much locks.
That line's kind of short for that Tampa New Orleans, especially given the fact that New Orleans routed them both times during the regular season.
It's hard to beat team 3 times. Though.
Yeah, but
they say that that's not really the case.
Take out the Christmas Day game, which was the big 50-point game, Kamara 6 touchdowns. But if you were paying attention, everybody was hurt on Minnesota. They were rolling out practice squad guys on defense. So that was kind of overblown. And Drew just hasn't looked right since. And by the way, it's understandable. The guy broke 11 ribs. He's not comfortable.
Wow.
Right.
Yep. John, thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Have a good
John.
weekend. We'll chat next week, man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks,
John.
guys.
You got it. John McMullen at JF McMullen on Twitter. We'll wrap the hour next. It's The Middle, phillyvoice.com/The Middle, and sports.